Well, as I was listening to both Sandra and Harriet, what occurred to me is that some people might be listening here today and thinking that communication skills are all about my speaking to my audience. But there are two things that take place, and the other is listening. And in order to really communicate with other people and make sure that fit is there, is paying attention to what your listening skills are. You know, how am I listening to the question? What is it about my story that I can weave into the answer that seems natural? And that is the more important thing in terms of communicating, again, on this medium, even though it existed before. It's even more important to think that you're not on stage, that you're still with that person. So it's listening, understanding that listening requires pausing. If you have too much information in your head, such as Sandra was talking about, you might start a script with people. And if you start a script, then it will sound like a script. So always remember that you're having a conversation. That person is trying to see how do you fit? And is that person a good listener? Does that person have pauses when I ask a question? Do they do things once in a while that look more human, like, you know, I thought about that, or I've never thought about that before. Let me reconsider what you've said in the dynamic and how it fits into what we're talking about. So remember to have those elements of conversation that will fit into whether it's the past or the present or the future, whether you're bringing things in from your own past and you're fitting them into what you're talking about in the present, or you're speculating on what that impact can have on the future. But remember that it's about communicating both in speaking and in listening. In particular, if you are speaking with somebody who seems to be quieter, who you're catching the idea that this person doesn't speak in long, drawn-out sentences, pay attention to those things because they also are listening for how you're speaking. And if you're speaking in long sentences when they're not, they might think that you're overtaking them. So pay attention to the dynamic, the balance that you have with that other person, and making sure that you're not overdoing an answer, that you're not overusing what you learned. You're not saying, and oh, by the way, and oh, I'd like to add. Leave the silence, leave the pause. The pause is important because then that other person feels the pause as well and is instantly thinking about a question or remark back to what you just said. Might be saying something like, that's a very interesting point you're making. It reminds me of such and such. And then asking a question based on that with the dynamic of the organization. You know, it could be, that's an interesting point. Now, one of the ways we look at that is the following. Is that something you've done before? So this is where it becomes more conversation. So it's speaking and listening and pausing and paying attention to what dynamic that person is showing you.